Thokoza, my beautiful people. My name is Khanyisile Mbongwa. I'm adjunct curator here at Novel Foundation. Welcome to our Instagram live walkabout. Today we are doing a walkabout on Athi-Patra Ruga's iiNyanga Zonyaka, the Lunar Songbook, of which I curated. Thokoza. Chos ngantsomi. Ungabalisi amabali emini uzophuma impondo. Kwakukho intombi kuthiwa nguNomalizo Khwezi wasendema kwaTsomo, just above the Khai River. Wayekhuliswa ngumama nomakazi wakhe. She loved books, idolized and was inspired by uNoni Jabavu. It is her love for books that led her to Azania City, where she was educated and employed at the Brink Publishing House. In this final iteration, she forms the center of the narrative. We witness Nomalizo in a politics of transcending. She is the thoroughfare of worlds connecting and colliding, an ascending duality of Iqaba, Neqoboka, dancing with herself like Jesus on Ascension Day. Suspended mid-air, Nomalizo is negotiating two traditional archetypes, being a poised, Christianized figure or umakoti ohloniphekileyo. In this instance, we witness her losing herself to social, spiritual, and God's expectations. Through uNomalizo, Ruga is searching for something that is lost and uses iiNyanga Zonyaka as a compass. iiNyanga Zonyaka, the Lunar Songbook, is a cosmological recounting of time. In using the months of the year from a Nguni perspective, Ruga invites us into his story world, a world that interjects linear history lines by blurring mythology and reality, presenting us with counter-narratives that center Black, queer, and femme lived experiences. AmaXhosa begin their year in June, Eyesilimela, the month of the Pleiades, marked by the 7 sisters. AmaXhosa acknowledge it as the seed stars, that the sky has marked the beginning of their growing season, that time is speaking to boys to go into the initiation for manhood. And so you see the procession of boys smeared in white, draped in red and white blankets, making their way into themselves, as Ruga would say, ayothwasa la makhwenkwe bazoba ngamadoda. And there, as they move, you see Eyekhala, July, the month of the Elo. The boys will need this medicine as they move through the initiation. The Elo is the healer. It is fierce and warlike. There they go underwater. We move through Eyetupa, the month of the budding flowers, just before spring, when nature awakens from the winter months. Then to Eyomsintsi, September, the month of coast coral tree, the royal tree, believed to have magical powers. On to Eyedwarha, October, the month of the lily pad. Then Eyenkanga, November, the month of the small yellow daisies. Then we see Umayibuye, which means let it return. Unyana kaNomalizo during Uchazimpunzi, April, the month of the withering pumpkin, the month of the late crops. The pumpkin vines are umlibo, like an umbilical cord connecting child to mother. Umlibo is a thread connecting him to his people, to his lineage, to his ancestors, to his mother. He has indeed returned. He has transformed into uMamlambo waseGrinika, a merman. His military gear is symbolic of the trauma that led to his drowning, and that this passage through the water into his afterlife is also ukuthwasa, his spiritual becoming. At the edge of Mayibuye's tale, we see water lilies, and folklore states that they are mermen's flowers used by mermen to lure swimmers to their death. From here, our eyes search the sky and fall onto Eyekanzibe, May, the month of the canopus, is the brightest star in the southern constellation of Carina, and the second brightest star in the night sky after Sirius. The month of Canopus is significant in many African cultures, as well as cultures all over the planet. For amaXhosa, the appearance of the star Canzibe predicts the beginning of winter and the time of harvesting, also signaling the end of the year. There are many more symbols I can discuss here, like the Star of Bethlehem that leads the initiates, Ikwezi, the morning star that appears east before sunrise, or the Lovedale Tower pressed against the edge of the sky, representing intellect and imagination that Ruga unearths as etchings of a reckoning, an awakening, and a veneration of the ancestral. Or how Nomalizo's transcending is a suspended ascension that captures a double consciousness and her inner tension as the embattled heroine. Or how Maibuya's transcending, on the other hand, is an underwater cleansing and awakening that transforms him into a merman, uMamlambo waseGrinika. But what draws me in is the way in which Ruga plays with the gaze. uNomalizo looks at herself looking and reaching for isithaba sakhe, but also towards her son's tail. Maibuye looked past his mother's falling hat and towards the initiates. The initiates' gaze are at various angles, but one initiate gazes at the viewer, while the viewer is drawn into the story world, captured by its poetic symphony, an orchestra of all lost things returning. Ruga is deliberate and intentional in how they weave their story world with historical archives, folklore, and the everyday. They leave nothing to chance here, being critically sensitive to how their story world carve out space in our national memory and in the art canon. And so, when I look upon this window vinyl, permeating the space like the mouth of the universe, I know there's a reckoning here. There's an awakening here. It is a reconciliation with self, a summoning of a cosmic restoration with all the lost things returning, and the sacred remains a secret. Phela phela ngantsomi. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please come and join us here at Novel Foundation. This exhibition runs on from now until 26 July 2021. Thokoza.